If you are a Rush Limbaugh fan, you're probably familiar with the phrase the drive-by media. And right now, what we have is a drive-by presidency. And I know this is a strategy that he's using to discredit the media. And we all hate the media. I hate the New York Times and CNN and the way that they mislead you. And in fact, I don't think it's even a partisan thing. I think the media is mostly infotainment, and we have a lot more commentary and a lot less information coming through. But this way that he deals with the media, there's a time and a place for that. There is a time to mock the media and say they're being silly and say it's fake news. There is a time to mock your enemies, call them Sleepy Joe, Crooked Hillary, Lion Ted. Okay? That's fun and that's funny. But what the president said on Twitter about Governor Whitmer, who isn't my favorite person, she's an enormous pro-abortion zealot, and I'm not a fan of that at all. But she is a Democrat who won in a state that has been red for the past decade or so. They've elected Republican governors, Republican senators. Their state legislature has been Republican for quite a while now. Okay? So she is a talented and capable politician, whatever you think of her politics. And I think he's picked a fight with somebody that he really shouldn't have picked a fight with over nothing, as far as I can tell. He says, I love Michigan. One of the reasons we are doing such a great, all caps, job for them during this horrible pandemic. Yet your governor, Gretchen, quote, half Whitmer, is way in over her head. She doesn't have a clue, likes blaming everyone for her own ineptitude, MAGA. Now, I'm not on the phone calls between Mike Pence and Governor Whitmer, and I have no idea what was said between them, and I frankly don't care. I don't care who was mean to whom, and I don't care who knocked over whose blocks. This is stupid. And you might have noticed that Governor Whitmer is not responding in kind. Governor Inslee is not responding in kind. Nobody talks this way. Okay? And we can say, oh, that's political correctness. But you know what? Right now, President Trump wants to say that he's a war president. Okay? Then act like it. Act like you're taking this seriously enough that you're not just going to start hurling insults at people who are on our side. Can you imagine FDR in the White House attacking attacking General MacArthur in the middle of World War II? Well, he's in the Pacific, or Eisenhower in Europe. We wouldn't hear it. Absolutely ridiculous. You know, there's a time and a place for this. And whatever you think of her politics, this is just, it is childish, it is unnecessary, and we don't even know what he's talking about. That's what I mean about the drive-by presidency, because he's trying to paint an image that other people are incompetent, which maybe she is, but he hasn't provided any evidence of that. He hasn't told us why. He just throws that allegation out there, and we're supposed to fill in the rest of the details in our heads. We're supposed to go to bat for him. And here's something that as I looked through the media, I thought, am I crazy here? This sounds like a real low, even for Donald Trump, who says a lot of stuff on Twitter that just makes you roll your eyes. Nobody is defending Donald Trump in his attack on Governor Whitmer. Breitbart News reported it. No comment. They didn't say, Governor Whitmer did this terrible thing. What a loser. What a boob. Fox News just reported it. Didn't go to bat for him. OAN, the very pro-Trump network, and I forget what OAN stands for off the top of my head, silent. So none of his allies are defending him on this alone. On this, I found one blog, essentially. It called itself the Sentinel, and it said these are people that should be appreciated. Well, let me look at it. I think they're just quoting the president here. And so if that's all you have, is you have a few bloggers who would defend the president if he shot Clarence Thomas tomorrow. There is always going to be somebody who will defend the president, but even his normal allies have completely abandoned him on this, and he should think about what he's saying. Instead of going on the podium and saying, these are people that should be appreciated, talking about how he's not appreciated enough, how Mike Pence isn't appreciated enough. I believe that. I believe Mike Pence is not appreciated enough. I believe he does a lot of hard work and doesn't get the credit he deserves. But honestly, right now, I don't care who gets the credit. Just get the job done. Make the masks, make the ventilators. He has power, granted by Congress. The DPA allows him, the Defense Production Act allows President Trump to order things like the building of ventilators. And we're worried that we're going to be like Italy and we're not going to have enough ventilators and people are going to die unnecessarily because this ramped up too fast and we're not going to be able to respond quickly enough. Fine. He didn't invoke that until last week. Why aren't we building more masks? Why aren't we building more ventilators? Why haven't we done more sooner? And honestly, if it turns out it's all Governor Whitmer's fault, okay. We can have that discussion later. But right now, get the job done. Stop pointing fingers. Stop fighting with the press. Stop it. Because it is completely unproductive. What we have is a real crisis, and he's just not up to the task right now. I think it's.
I think the bottom line is the rhetoric. That kind of rhetoric doesn't help anything. It doesn't help the situation. It doesn't help anything. I can, quite frankly, I can understand why he is with the press, because the press is extremely biased. It's one of the reasons I wanted to do this show. But it doesn't help for him to go after individual governors and things like that, and get into little pissy pissing wars with them and stuff like. It just doesn't help. It doesn't help anything.
Right. And yesterday he held a press conference in the Rose Garden. I believe it was the Rose Garden. And you had a reporter who was asking him about the whole appreciation thing. Why is he talking about appreciation? And he misrepresented what the reporter said. He said, "Oh, you're misquoting me. You're cutting it off. You're making it sound like it's all about me." The reporter didn't mention Trump there. The president misrepresented the reporter's question. What the reporter was asking is, why does appreciation matter? Why does credit matter right now? And it was a very good question. It's the same question I have, but the president, because he's so used to playing defense, couldn't just answer a simple question. And, I can think very quickly of a couple of really good answers. A really good answer would be something like, my concern is that Governor Whitmer isn't being a team player. She doesn't appreciate Mike Pence, and I think that's going to make us hard to deal effectively to rise to the challenge of dealing with this crisis. Something like that, okay? If he still wants to point the finger and say that her appreciation somehow matters, which I can't imagine it does, then at least be a little creative. Be a little better at spinning this nonsense. But I think that right now, his handling of this crisis so far, he has about a 60% approval rating in his handling of the crisis, but that's actually not very high. After 9/11, George W. Bush had a 90% approval rating with regards to his handling of the crisis. Okay, 90%. Okay, 60% isn't very good for a wartime president. And I understand this isn't an actual war. This isn't World War II. This isn't 9/11. But I just think he doesn't understand the gravity of the situation. I think he looks at his poll numbers and he says, "Oh, I'm almost at 50% approval. I'm doing really well." And he just doesn't have any perspective on how bad that is historically. He doesn't have any perspective on what that means, what that actually means for his reelection chances in November. And putting that aside, because honestly, that's not the most important thing right now, he doesn't realize.
I'm at the point where I'm questioning whether we're going to have an election in November or not.
We might not.
That's my bigger concern at this point.
Yeah,
we have elections. We have primaries being canceled right now. I can't remember what the last one was, but we have primaries that are being canceled right now. So, unfortunately, everything's being put on pause, and that includes a democratic process. That goes back to you talking about Massey and what has been going on there. Right. Those are the things I'm really concerned about right now.
And everybody complains about Congress not doing their job. Whenever Congress doesn't pass a bill fast enough, we hear the Democrats scream, Congress isn't doing their job. And here Thomas Massey is literally asking that Congress do their legislation. Instead, we're passing laws without ever voting.